The Adirondack is back up and running more than 3 years after the COVID pandemic closed the border and shut down this vital link connecting New York City to the Adirondacks and Montreal. North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, along with other political leaders, have been pushing Amtrak to resume service since the northern border reopened to cross-border traffic a year and a half ago.
Gary Douglas is head of North Country
Gary
Chamber
Douglas?
of Commerce.
Yes. Thank you for getting us back on track.
Hey, we're here. It's exciting.
We worked closely with Amtrak over the past 3 years and really pushed to get this Adirondack Line reopened. It's so important to our North Country economy.
The Congresswoman was joined by Amtrak's president, Roger Harris, who rode the Adirondack Line from New York City to Plattsburgh. Harris says several issues and delays, including getting crews trained, kept the Adirondack Line shut down longer than any other of Amtrak's routes.
It is the last in the country, actually. We had some infrastructure issues that occurred during the suspension of service. There was a change of ownership in the station in Montreal. The tracks needed some work after the end of the pandemic, and ironically, there was a big warehouse in Albany, which was threatening the line for a few weeks, and it disrupted our training schedule. So there was a whole series of complications, but our team worked through them and got back to service because we knew how important it was for the community.
So now every line in the country that was back
Yes,
up and running?
every line in the country is now back with this. This is why I'm so excited about it. This is really the kind of the icing on the cake.
And Harris says with ridership increasing in recent years, along with new funding from the bipartisan infrastructure deal passed by Congress, Amtrak is looking at buying a new fleet of modern, more comfortable trains in the coming years and adding more routes.
Nationwide service is back to about 85% of what it was pre-COVID, so it's been growing incredibly fast. One of the great things is we're seeing all kinds of new riders who we've never seen before, so there's a lot of interest. And with the bipartisan infrastructure law, there's money available to develop additional frequencies in existing corridors and new services. And so we think we're working with the state of New York to find ways of increasing service. So I certainly think it's in the realm of possibility.
Do you think the Adirondack Line could be one, though?
Could be.
Along with the return of the cross-border train, Congresswoman Stefanik and business and political leaders here in the North Country have been calling on the U.S. and Canada to now get the rest of their border policies back in sync. Right now, Canadians who haven't had a COVID vaccination can't enter the U.S. at land crossings.
Yes, we are still working on that, and that's been really a bipartisan effort from the Northern Border Caucus to make sure that we're lifting all of those COVID mandates. Part of it is the cross-communication, and this is something that this region understands so well, is that we have close working relationships with our Canadian counterparts, and we need to use that to get on the same page.
As soon as Canada eliminated its restrictions in terms of testing and vaccination, and essentially went back to a pretty much normalization of border crossings for individuals from their perspective, we jumped right back immediately a year ago next month, April, to 70% of travel volumes that we had seen pre-pandemic in 2019. So there's about 20% of the Canadian population didn't get vaccinated that were basically saying you can't come back. That's part of that inability to get from 70% back to 100%. So we need to get that normalization back.
And it's been a struggle every step of the way. It really has. And our locals, the Chamber of Commerce here, have been trying to get that. So to try to get those policies in sync has been, I would like to use a better word than this, but it's been excruciating, honestly. And certainly we're continuing to try to work towards that. There needs to be that symmetry to make sure that we are working together with one policy, so people not only know what it is, but that we can have that that cross-border flow of people and getting back to normal of what we were pre-COVID. It's necessary, not only socially but economically for our two countries, and certainly New York and Quebec in our region.